he's been back there all day tasting, and he said, how healthy should I make it? I said, err on the side of it tasting really good, and we'll figure out the rest. Thank you, Michael, for doing that. Just wanted to mention, you know, Chef and Billy have been working together all day, but some of the things on our menu that we have looking towards wellness, gluten-free items, heart healthy. Every week we have a special doctor's orders that we're, for copyright reasons, we're working with the Weight Watchers program with what we're putting on there, but we can't put that on our menu because of their proprietary rights, but we are aiming that doctor's orders entree towards those of you that are working through that Weight Watchers program. Chef Billy, I think this is 4 or 5 for us. Yeah. Chef Billy, every time I call him to come do a wellness seminar, he's been more than happy to do that. I actually jammed him up this week. I'm on the education committee for the Club Managers Association of America, and they are meeting this week in San Diego. And I said, can you come here from New York and then fly out to San Diego in the middle of February where it's 2 feet of snow in New York? And he said, I think I can work that out. Billy's an avid golfer, but he's an incredible chef. And he's with a great magazine, Cooking Light Magazine, the best healthy eating magazine in the country, if not the world, I think. So Billy, I know we got to do a mic change here in a second. Thank you for coming, and I know you all are going to enjoy it very much.
So, the first thing, let's give Rob McWilliams a hand. He set this all up for us, so all the IT work, PowerPoint. And is there anybody better than this guy? Nobody better. Nobody better. But thanks for having me. So, I stayed somewhere in Naples last night and I pulled in here. Now, I knew Tom told me that you have to see where I'm working now. That's what he said, because we planned this over 8 months ago. February 6th was 8 months ago, and it's here right now, and it goes like this. So that's why that's why wellness is important. Time is going by real fast. So when I pulled in, I pulled down some, GPS put me down one of the residential streets, and I was, when it said go another 1.5 miles, and then I started seeing golf courses, and I was like, wow, this place is truly amazing. And then I really got to have a little lunch here and see this whole place. This place is spectacular. So thanks for having me. I appreciate that. Absolutely. This is where you folks live for at least a half a year or whatever when it's cold up north. But so my name is Billy Strynkowski. It's pretty simple. It's 3 syllables of Strynkowski, and I'm the executive chef for Cooking Light magazine. Here's a couple of things. Cooking Light is 25 years old, so it happened fast. I've been with the magazine for 10 years, and in those 10 years, believe it or not, healthy cooking has changed right before our eyes. And I'll tell you why. Because we don't see those little asterisks or little carrots on the menus anymore, right? Remember like 10 years ago or 8 years ago, we used to go out to dinner and there used to be like a little piece of broccoli next to the healthy thing on the menu, right? Well, that doesn't really exist anymore. So someone said to me last week, and I'm going to bring it up in San Diego, maybe they should put that it's not healthy anymore on the menu because everything should be healthy. And I can tell you one thing, Chef here has everything healthy in that kitchen. I actually tweeted today. Now this club has a Twitter account, it's called Club Mediterra. So I went on there, took pictures of beautiful, I took a picture of beautiful poached, perfectly poached asparagus today, and tweeted it across the country saying I'm at Club Mediterra. And guess what? Most of the food here, I mean you still have your french fries and your onion rings, but God forbid if we don't. But the rest of the food is healthy food. And it just goes to say that times are changing. That healthy food is here to stay. Cooking Light, 25 years old. It started 25 years ago because Southern Living magazine, who's our sister, did a Cooking Light, who knew that would be the name of the magazine, column, and they got so much feedback that they said, let's try a magazine. And now it's 25 years old. So here's a couple of rules that I came up with over the years. And I'm young, I'm 10 years with the magazine. Here's a couple of things. One, if it doesn't taste good, who cares how healthy it is? No one's going to eat it. Am I right? Yeah. Right? So it has to taste good. Next thing is, everything in proper balance. That's kind of our new word. The new word on the street in healthy eating is balance. In other words, this. We're gonna put a little butter on It's just what we do. It's how much butter we put on, right? And I was talking to these folks over here. I'm a big believer in remember this now. Very, very important. I'm a big believer in complex carbohydrates for breakfast. Complex, okay, what is complex carbohydrate? Something that takes longer for our bodies to burn. And my favorite thing, and I'm not here to do brands, I'm not here to say buy this, buy that, but Kashi Goleen is good for me, because if I have a bowl of Kashi Goleen with a little cinnamon and a couple of blueberries, I'm good to lunch. The worst thing we can do, folks, is this, is eat breakfast and we're hungry at 10 o'clock. Because then we don't care who's in front of us, we're going to eat something, right? We don't care. We're going into the kitchen and we're eating something. I was telling these folks today, I had a little rule that when I was watching what I eat at nighttime, I put a jalapeno in the refrigerator. And if I opened the refrigerator door, I had to take a bite of the jalapeno. It's like my little alarm clock saying, so you want to eat, buddy? You're going to pay. Right? And that's how, because I'm a big believer that if we eat at nighttime, it better be an apple, it better be some almonds. Pistachio nuts are a healthy nut now. You know, so, but little things like that. Because eating's a habit. Eating's a habit. And once you can break that little habit of some silly things that we do at nighttime, I'm a real good believer that anybody in Europe really, really heavy, do they have all these obesity problems? No, because their dinner is lunchtime. See, we have it all backwards here in America. But it's a habit, so we can't break it, right? So we wake up and this is what breakfast is. A bagel, cream cheese, a croissant, a donut. You know what I mean? So bacon, you know? I mean, can you imagine? We'll talk later, but I was in Japan. They don't have bacon in Japan. You tell a Japanese guy's going to have bacon for breakfast in Japan, he'll look at you like you're out of your mind, right? But the bottom line is that in the morning time, we need to eat stuff, cereals, grains, breads, whatever that's complex carbohydrate. Read your labels. It's very, very important. My favorite thing would be, one other thing, granola has a lot of fat. You have to read your label. You could be thinking you're buying the best granola, but it's just loaded with high fructose corn syrup. Go on, try something a little different. Go on the Cooking Light website, or any website for that matter, and maybe make your own granola with a little orange juice and a little agave nectar or honey. All granola is toasted grains. Toasted really oatmeal. The quick oats. You know, really, that's really what it is with almonds, and you can put raisins, you can put whatever you really want into there. But just be careful for breakfast, and I think that's, especially if you're going to be playing golf, you don't want to be starving out there, because then you're just going to not going to concentrate well. Even on your tennis, you know, and even on, I don't care what they say. Who here plays bocce? Everybody plays bocce. If you don't play bocce, you got to leave. But even on bocce, you know, it's the same thing. I try to tell my kids, if you go, you know, they go to school, so you're going to take the test. What are you having for breakfast? Nothing. A bag of chips, soda. What are you drinking? Right? And I hit them up because I always say that they need a healthy, balanced breakfast so they can do well on their exams. Midterms just passed, you know. I'm a big believer in that. So with that said, I'm going to cook a few things, and then I have a couple of videos from Japan that you're really going to like. The first thing that we're going to cook is very, very simple, and I actually coached these two fine people what it was. So about 7 years ago, I lost 70 pounds. I was a little grande. And I decided one day I was going to make the change, and that's when I did the jalapenos. But I couldn't say goodbye to pizza, so I developed a pizza using eggplant, and the eggplant is my pizza dough. So there was no carbohydrates except the carbs that go into vegetables, which there are carbs in vegetables. And I'm going to teach everyone how to make it. Very, very simple. Anybody can do it, and I love serving them for parties because you can make them, you know, in your house parties, because you can make them up, and they're great room temperature. A real easy, very, very simple filet mignon recipe. And the only thing that's kind of strange is how many people know what miso is? Besides, okay, because you've had miso soup, right? You go out to sushi, you have miso soup. Well, miso is soybean. And if you buy a little pack of miso, they have it in Florida, Publix has it, it'll last in your refrigerator for 4 months. And there's other things to do with it too, but I'm going to teach everyone how to marinate a piece of filet mignon with a little miso, and you're going to try it outside later. The next thing is, about 7 years ago, I developed a recipe. I made a soy caramel. A little bit odd, a little bit different, but it's a great sauce for just about anything. I've been making it at home for salmon. So I've been making this soy caramel, and it lasts a couple of days in your refrigerator. Once you make it, delicious with a little stir fry of spinach, steamed spinach, with a little salmon and a little of this spice rub. All right, and then the last dish. Let me take a look here. I got that. Oh, is the grouper. I'll tell you, it doesn't matter what fish it is. We're going to crust it with a little cashew, but it could be almonds, could be sesame seeds, it could be pistachio. I'm going to teach you how to do it. And then we're going to make a little jam, but it's not going to be a jam like you know in a jar, like a grape jam. It's going to be a papaya red pepper kind of jam condiment to put on top. So I really don't care about the grouper. I care about that jam, because that jam can go on just about anything, including the eggplant. So questions, you can bring them up when I'm cooking. I'll stop. I don't care. Just yell them out as loud as you could. And then at the end, we'll take some more questions. And then at the end, Rob McWilliams downloaded 4 video that I'm going to be showing in San Diego on Sunday. And wait till you see these things. Some of them are funny, and some of them is like, oh my God, I can't believe that guy just did that. All right, so we'll get started. So, yeah. So what I usually do is I travel around for Cooking Light, and then on my own I do these wellness cooking demos, only because I'm in now, I can't stop. I can't stop doing it. So here's what I did. Like I said, I had to do something. I was eating out of control. I was an out of control eater. I wasn't even eating because I was hungry. I was just eating to eat. And then that's where my problems all started, about 8 years ago. So I had to do something. So what I did was I decided that I love pizza so much that I'm going to make a pizza that's pretty healthy. So here's what I did. I took an eggplant, and I just want to make sure that everybody knows this is not a difficult situation. Any way, any form, we have to cook a little bit of eggplant. So what we did is we grilled it. All right, so this is just sliced eggplant with no skin. You can cut the eggplant if you want this way too. Doesn't matter. You can make long pieces, or you can make slices, or on the bias. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we have cooked eggplant rounds. You can't freeze them because there's so much water. Then when you defrost them, it'll just take everything out of it. They'll have no flavor. And you can do this 2 days in advance, and you can put them in your refrigerator. So here they are. We did these yesterday. So we're going to put them on a sheet pan. It could be any pan. And what we're going to do is we're going to build, I like to call these eggplant pizza tarts. Okay? Everybody with me so far? Okay. So we have I have 8 of them here. I have 10. Okay, we'll put 10 in. So, and then we're going to have to put these back into the oven later. But let's assemble these as fast as we possibly can. And you'll be shocked. Now, anything that goes on here, there's one rule. It has to be cooked. Because I don't want anything raw on top of this. Because once they're raw, it has to bleed water like a shrimp, like a piece of chicken, like a mushroom. Everything has to be cooked. I was telling these folks, if you love a little feta and spinach and olive, the spinach has to be squeezed. You can't put wet spinach on this. So, and you don't even have to put a sauce on it if you don't want. But what we'll do is we'll just put a little tomato sauce on. And you know what I love about these? Less is more. Like, you don't have to clog this thing up with a bunch of stuff. So we'll make 5 with the sauce, and we'll make 5 without.
It's not on the screen.
Oh, sorry. Here we go. Thank you. If you see something like that, yell it out, okay? It's not a perfect world, you know? Okay. So we had that here, and what I have here, guys, is this. Remember what I said? Most things have to be cooked. So this is fennel. Could be zucchini. This is onion. This is a little bit of arugula that we'll put on later. This is some goat cheese, and this is tomato. The tomato I don't have cooked because it's just slivers. Slivered cherry tomatoes or pear tomatoes, whatever it may be. So let's assemble one up here. And we'll assemble a few. So here's the fennel. We'll put a little fennel down, and we'll do this one with no tomato sauce. And this will get a little goat cheese. So here's a little bit of fennel. Now, I have a question. How many calories is there in one? Look at this. 1 tablespoon of olive oil. 100. Do I hear what? 120. I love that number. Anybody? Anybody? Between 120 and 140. So think about this. Usually an active woman should have 1,800 calories in her diet daily. A tablespoon's 130, right? So everybody will say, and I know the instructors from the gym just said, I want fat. So we were talking about this while everybody else was presenting. I want fat in my diet. Yeah, but the guy works out like morning, noon, and night. You see the body of that guy? You know, so he can have a little bit more olive oil. We can't, right? 130. So I'm not a big fan of doing this, okay? Just so you remember. Oh, another thing too about olive oil. Don't buy the big can, especially, this is probably what happens, I could be wrong. You come down here for the season and you stop off somewhere and you buy a big thing of olive oil. Well, olive oil goes rancid. Not that it'll kill you, but you lose all the significant, all the significant values that it puts into food. Now, anytime you put, you have a can and you have olive oil, you put it in there and you put it on the stove, there's no value anymore nutritionally in this oil once you heat it. So what we try to do is say, hey, buy a blended oil, something, you know, pretty cheap for sauteing. You know, we don't want peanut oil, we want a canola oil. And we like to buy small bottles of olive oil just for drizzling on things once they're done. Okay? And that's usually the rule with a good olive oil. All right? Just remember that. Yes? Can, plastic, or bottle, it's the large ones that once you open it, it oxidizes and it loses all the value. The only way around it would be is if you take that big can and put it in the refrigerator. Right? So, but then you have to pull it out of the refrigerator, let the coagulation of the oil get a little loose and fill up that little bottle next to the stove.
So it's best to get a small one.
Buy little small ones. First of all, buy olive oil is like wine. Every year it changes. You know, the flavors change with the year. Right? It's 2006, 2009. All depends on the weather. So I'm not a big fan of buying these big cans anyway. But buy a good olive oil that you like. Use it up and buy a new one. You know, especially for you folks. You know, you're down here probably to what, May, right? So then May it sits there till, you know, when you come down and say, let's go down and check out the house, right? So, am I on this? Am I talking your language? I kind of figured it out, you know, because it is what it is. So we're making these little pizza tarts, and here's a little onion, and here's, oh, excuse me, that was fennel. Here's a little bit of the onion. I love that cooked onion. Again, everything has to be cooked to make this thing right. And you can just put this like so. I leave one open. Here's a couple of tomatoes. I won't make them all so we can get going here so you guys can eat. And then here's a little bit of goat cheese. Right, so we'll put a couple of pieces of goat cheese on here. And I'm a fan of goat cheese. A little goat cheese goes a long way. Why do I like goat cheese? Because it packs a pretty good punch. In other words, balance, right? Remember that word balance? If you want to eat a lot of goat cheese, it's not going to be healthy for you. But if you want to have a nice sliver of goat cheese, it's going to be good because cheese is one of our foods we need, dairy. You know, it's in part of the 5 food groups. You know, so you do need a little dairy somewhere, folks. So we'll put a little there, and then what we'll do is a little salt and pepper, and then here's a little basil, or you can add the basil when it comes out of the oven. I'm just making these little pizza tarts. I went back into the kitchen and grabbed some smoked tuna. It was back there for the tarts on the lunch menu. So look, here's a little smoked tart here. We'll put that and see what else we have back here. Here's a little red pepper. A couple of red peppers. See the way it works? The red pepper should be cooked, right, for the roasted pepper. These aren't. And then what you would do is you would take these pizza tarts, put them into the oven, melt the cheese, get them good and hot, and then if you want, when they come out, you can take a little bit of arugula. What is arugula? Anyone know what it is? What is it? Dandelions. That's a good one. I like that. You're almost there. Anybody? It's a mustard green. So that's why it's a little peppery, and that's why it tastes so good. because it has some pepper. It's peppery, and once you put a little vinaigrette on that, and I'll tell you one thing: if you can find some arugula that's a little bit bigger and not in the bag, like this is the baby one, right? Look at the size of this baby. I mean, this is a baby piece of arugula. These are hydroponically grown, by the way, in California, and they're grown so fast. And why are they hydroponically grown? They don't have to be washed. They're grown in water. There's no soil involved, and then they're packed real fast in airtight bags. And when there's no air, nothing could go bad. Oxygen destroys things. So this is why those bags are so popular. But if you can find arugula that's in a rubber band and you wash it and saute it like spinach, it's a home run. I'm a big fan of sauteed arugula. Try it with me. You might like it. So here you go. Put these in the oven, and like I said, you can do really whatever you want with this. Everything has to be cooked. Everybody clear on this? Eggplant pizza tart, great for parties because you can make these you can have your eggplant grilled off or roasted yesterday, assemble them today, put them in the oven, and put them on a cutting board with a little spatula and let all of you guests have them at room temperature. A couple of pistachios on top with the goat cheese. Remember this, it's like peanut butter and chocolate. Pistachios and goat cheese is like peanut butter and chocolate. Always remember that. So if you're having a little party and you want to do something a little funky, have a little bowl, and don't tell anyone that you know it's spectacular. A little log of goat cheese, and you just roll it into your pistachios and let everybody cut it. And the next thing you know, they're going to be like, hey, this is really good. And you're going to say, I know it's really good. It's like peanut butter and chocolate. Pistachio and goat cheese. All right? So we're up to that. What do you guys think about that? Is that like something you guys can pull off? Like, I was telling these folks over here that when you leave here tonight, and if you can't make what I'm teaching you, then I failed. So I want everybody to make sure that you at least get something out of this. You know what I mean? The next thing is this. Let's make. Yes. Yes. Oh, great question. Sorry about that. Here's my rule of thumb on the eggplant. Eggplant's like a sponge. Really bad for healthy cooking. Really bad for healthy cooking. Here's the problem with eggplant. We all have this illusion, including myself when I cook it. I got to come back to earth, take a step back, Billy boy, because if I take this and put a little olive oil on it, it's going to look dry. But I maybe had 1 tablespoon of olive oil stuck, the eggplant sucked it right up. It's 130 calories. We're trying to cook healthy here, right? Here's what my rule of thumb is, and I was telling them. A little Italian vinaigrette and maybe spread it on with your fingers. Don't squeeze it on there, right? Or a little cooking spread. And then if you do marinate it with a little Italian vinaigrette on both sides, you can let it sit for 15 or 20 minutes on a low grill outside. Anytime you grill eggplant, it has to be on a low grill to start getting the water. Here's what happens, folks. It starts to get hot inside, and this is how steam works. Steam creates like friction, and now it starts to go inside the eggplant, and this is what heats up. And what we want to do is do this slow so we don't burn it. And I'll show you what I mean. Bang. Right? So usually the part of the grill closest to your belly is the lowest flame. So that's where you start out your eggplant. Be patient. Don't worry, it's going to cook. And then once you start seeing it, then you can push it into the back a second, and in 2 minutes you're done. And then what's going to happen, there's so much water in this, what's going to happen, it's going to continue to cook once it's off the grill another 5 minutes. And then you'll have beautiful eggplant. Cut your eggplant a little bit thicker than thinner, because there's so much water it's going to deplete. It's one of my favorite veggies, but it's so hard to cook. Yes?
Why do you have to take the skin off?
That's a good question.
The skin is always the healthy.
Okay, well, in this case, we don't digest eggplant skins. So that's number one. So if you have, you can leave a little on, but it's almost undigestible. Okay? Lemongrass too is undigestible, yes.
I use eggplant because I come from Greece and we use a lot of eggplant.
Yeah, you do. It's so good, right?
Yes, we slice them, we put a little bit of salt and we let it drain.
Yes. Yes.
Is this a good thing to do?
Okay, yes it is for you, because your mother taught you and her mother taught her, God forbid you don't salt the eggplant, everything. But, well, I'll be honest, I don't like putting the salt on it. And years ago, there was this illusion, folks, that there was a male and a female eggplant, right? It was like, you know, a male and a female. So you had to slice the eggplant, salt them, press them, you press it. See, I remember years ago, it was like this, look. The eggplant would be on this pan, and we'd salt it, and then put another pan, exactly like this one, on top of it, and put a little weight on it. And we would press the eggplant, but for some odd reason, everybody was saying that we were pressing out the bitterness.
Yes, that's what they say.
I haven't had a piece of eggplant in years that's bitter, have you? Have you had bitter eggplant lately? Bitter? Don't salt. That was the illusion. The illusion was that eggplant's bitter, we're going to salt it, we're going to press it, all that juice comes out of it, and that's the bitterness that we're trying to lose. But yeah, so here's what you do. And I say this to people because cooking is an opinion, right? My opinion. I'm just trying to teach everybody what people taught me, and I said, that's a good thing. I'll teach everybody that, and we'll move forward. Try it with and try it without, and you make that decision, because you can cook it like that a long time. Hard to break a bad habit.
Oh, I can change it in a minute.
So try it. Anything without salt is better, right? Anything without salt is better. All right. So let me put this one on low, and we'll start this. We move this out of the way here. Okay. So this is an old cooking light recipe. I remember probably 10 years ago I saw this recipe, and then when I knew I was coming here, I was like, I better find that grouper Floridian style, you know, like Caribbean, Floridian, Florida, whatever. So this is a papaya relish. So let's not get too carried away on really what it is. It could be mango, could be peaches, could be apples, could be anything, but it's papaya. All right. Another thing too, in the Asian cuisine, folks, they used unripened papaya in a lot of their dishes. So anytime you see papaya like that, I don't panic, because unripened papaya is pretty tasty stuff. It doesn't break down so fast. What's in papaya that we all need? Enzyme. Papaya enzymes are really good. Anybody take papaya enzyme pills? Yeah, they're good. They're good for our stomachs. Breaks out all the impurities on the walls of our stomach and intestines. So good stuff to have. I'm not a registered dietitian. I'm just a chef that works with RDs and listens to them, and, you know. So a little bit of oil. Remember, we can always add more. We can't take out. Remember, there's 130 calories, right? So here's what we're going to do. Here's a little red bell pepper. You don't like red bell pepper? Don't use it. You want to put zucchini, yellow squash in there? Dynamite. Here's that papaya. We're going to put some papaya in. Anybody can do this. I think you guys can do this. We'll put a little bit more pepper in. So we're making, now this is something that's more important than cooking with the grouper, because this is something you can add in your chicken, your pork, your vegetables. This is a good condiment to just about anything. And you're down in Florida, and you can get some papaya or complex, and guess what? Why not? And once this is made, it could be in your refrigerator for a month. Minimum. All right? So we have our papaya here. We're going to add some water. Now we're making like a jam. So it has a little high sugar, but we're going to counterbalance this with a little vinegar. So here's our water, and here's 2 tablespoons of sugar. And then here's a little bit of vinegar. I'm supposed to add more papaya and everything, but I don't want to have a huge pot. Here's a little bit of vinegar. And I'm going to crank him up. I'm going to put a little lime juice in there. Why lime juice? Why lime juice? Because yin and yang, I love it. I love saying this in front of people. When you cook, you have to have yin and yang. So we have sugar, we have vinegar, now I have some citrus in there to really counterbalance the sugar. You don't want to have anything too sweet, you don't want to have anything too tart. You want it right down the middle. And how you do that is by what I use to get through to everybody is yin and yang. All right?
How come you didn't use agave?
It's not in the recipe. I use agave. We went through this whole thing that I only cook with agave now. But when I'm cooking like recipes, you know, I stay by the recipe. But a lot of our new recipes call for agave nectar. How many people have agave nectar in their pantries? Yay, 2 hands. Yes?
Do you use coconut sugar?
No, but I just got a memo the other day that Cooking Light's doing this whole big article about coconut sugar and coconut. Yeah, look. So, we'll see what happens. It's coming. Oh, okay, sweet. Okay. Here's a couple of things. We try to stay away from anything that's not natural. But I'm not telling anyone here not to use your stevia, or your equal, or your sweet and low, or anything like that. You can. Because, like I said, cooking is an opinion. This isn't the all end of all gods of all cooking. You know, this is just a couple of recipes rather than the time. Here's a little bit of jalapeno goes in there too. All right. So we're going to cook this on nice and slow. But again, you can go on any one of those websites, stevia, and they'll tell you that if it calls for 2 tablespoons of sugar, how much stevia. You can go on the website, their website, and they'll give you the ratio difference between plain sugar and their product. You can use agave nectar. Everybody should have agave nectar. I don't care where you live. Have one here and have one at home. Because it lasts. It won't harden like, it's only $2 anyway. It's only $2. All right, so here's what we have here. We have a little bit of grouper. Now, listen, it's a Florida fish, you know, but it's available. You know, a lot of people call it grouper. Down here, it'll be grouper. It's like a mutton fish. Yes?
Can you tell me the calories or the calorie difference between the sauce you're putting on the fish and a little panko?
No. No, I can't. I don't know. No, because I'm making little pieces here. Now, in the recipe, like you can go online and see the portion of this. I think it'll be a 4-ounce piece of fish and like a tablespoon or 2 of this. And it'll give you the ratio of calories. But no, the panko is a breadcrumb. And anyone know what panko is? So it's now you just got to be careful. I made a mistake the other day. I ran down the very confusing breadcrumb aisle, and I grabbed the panko, and I grabbed one that was seasoned with lemon. I got home, I was like, lemon panko from Progresso? That's why I was like, something's wrong here. So you know that it's a big player now in Progresso and 4 C's and Kikkoman and all your Yamasa brand all have panko breadcrumb. Panko breadcrumb is fun stuff. Let me shut this off for a second. Panko breadcrumb is fun because it's sprayed. It's a breadcrumb that's not toasted, and it's a liquid, and they spray it on like these walls that is a hot iron, and then they scrape it, and that's how you get this. That's how you get these big pieces of breadcrumb. Now, years ago, that was almost like a tempura. It was almost what panko breadcrumb, and I don't want to freak you guys out, but I read a lot. Panko breadcrumb was originated for pork tonkatsu. Tonkatsu is a barbecue sauce in the Japanese world, and tonkatsu is traditionally breaded with panko breadcrumbs. So then this was in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, and then shortly at like 1986, panko breadcrumb went crazy from all these chefs. Now everybody's watching the TV Food Network, everybody's reading magazines, and panko breadcrumbs were born. So what happened was, and how do we know that they were born? Because all the big players in the breadcrumb industry now produces panko, right? Pork tonkatsu is a great dish. What is it? Breaded pork cutlet, right? Like the Italian, I'll be right with you. And then they have this sauce that you can buy in any Japanese or Asian market called tonkatsu sauce, and you spray it on, it's like a barbecue sauce. So if you want to make it, here's how you do it. You take your panko breadcrumb, your flour, your egg, and then you panko your pork cutlet, and you saute it in a little bit of oil, and then you put a little American barbecue sauce on it, and it's an American pork tonkatsu. Yes?
Is panko a rice product?
No, it's a bread product. It's a wheat product. It's a wheat product. And now I'm seeing whole wheat panko. So it's a big game. If anybody wants, I'll take some out later. But I think the real fine breadcrumb has seen its day. It's all about panko now. If you get panko and it's really, really coarse, and you go to bread like chicken parmesan, we'll say this is a piece of pork, but if you have to, you bread this piece of chicken, make it chicken parmesan. And you put, here's your panko and your Parmesan cheese, oregano. But by the way, I put, when you go to Walgreens or CVS, see if you can buy a thing of gloves, because in the best breading for chicken parm, best chicken parm is very, very simple. Any ratio would do, but I never ever bread the whole batch of chicken before I take a little sliver, bread it, cook it, and taste it. It's like making meatballs. You're not going to make 30 meatballs without making one meatball. What happens if it's no good, right? What happens if it's too salty? But make a long story short, I like to take chopped fresh garlic and put it right into my breadcrumbs with dried oregano, Parmesan cheese, salt, pepper, parsley. It's pretty simple. I'll say it again. It's panko, chopped garlic, oregano, Parmesan cheese, salt, pepper, parsley. And I smush it all together with those gloves on because there's fresh garlic in there. And that's what I use to make my chicken parmesan. It's the best chicken parmesan on the planet. Don't use the garlic powder. Don't buy Italian breadcrumbs. Guess what? They have Italian panko. 4 Seasons, Progresso. You know what I mean? But now what happens is, and I'm just going by what I do, is when you go into your flour and then into your egg and then into the panko, sometimes you really have to get in there with your knuckles and put it in tight. Because the panko is kind of thick, they kind of fall off. So in other words, look, in a pan like this, you know, the panko breadcrumb pan, I always say beat it in with your knuckles. If you wear the gloves, it works out really good. All right? So make sure you do that. All right, anybody else have any crazy panko questions? It's sprayed stuff. It's pretty original. All right, so here's what we have here. Where's my panko? Here it is. Okay, so I'm going to put a little panko in here. As you guys can see, it's not roasted. It's not toasted. That's why you can see it's sprayed. Then this is some toasted coconut, right? And this is some ground cashews. Okay, so I'm making a cashew coconut breadcrumb. Pretty simple, right? Now, one mistake that we all make, folks, is this. We make too much breading, and we only have a little bit of bread, and then we throw all this away. Well, this is a pricey throwaway. This is cashew, coconut, and panko. It's not cheap. I mean, especially when you start talking about nuts. You know? So we're going to move this around a little bit. We'll just say there's a little parsley or cilantro. I love cilantro on my breadcrumbs, but that's just me. Right? You want to put a little pepper in here, go for it. You want to put a little salt in here. Mix it up. So here we go. So we have coconut, we have cashew, could be pistachio, could be almonds, could be macadamia nuts. Be careful, they are high in fat. How good? Macadamia nuts. Forget it. So here we go. Here's a little bit of grouper. It's fresh. Oh, anytime you go buy fish. How many people buy fish here? Good. You go shopping for fish? Good. You never buy any fish that's wet. If you see it's wet, it's no good. Fresh fish should not be wet. That's number one. Never buy anything pre-marinated. You go on the Cooking Lab website, there's 5,000 marinades with 3 or less ingredients. Don't let someone else marinate your fish. They're camouflaging something. Right? Blackened, lemon pepper, barbecue, you can go on down the line, right? We'll do that at home, thank you very much, give it fresh. Right? So, if it smells like fish, it's not really fresh. Fresh fish does not smell like fish. It is just what it is. If you see, look, there's a tiny, tiny, tiny drop of water here. Look how dry this is. This is fresh grouper. So when you go to your fishmonger, and I always say this, I would only find a good place to go buy fish, and that's the place you buy your fish. Because that's the place you should also buy your, the same thing goes with your wine merchant too. go to the same wine merchant, you'll get good bottles of wine that are for cheap because he knows your budget, he knows what you want to drink. Same thing for fish. If it's wet, stay away from it. Water and air cause what? Bacteria. If there's no water and there's no air, there cannot be any bacteria. So if you see your fish and then wet, then it's probably no good. And then as soon as you get home, you're going to unwrap your fish out of your paper wrap, plastic, whatever they're doing, and you're going to wrap it up in paper towels and put it in your refrigerator. All right? Don't leave it in that wrapping. Yeah, don't wash it. Don't wash it. Why don't we wash fish? Because there's natural sugar on it, and we want that. So once and natural salts. So look, we just spent an X amount of dollars on a piece of fish, and you see that's like a long time ago. That's what you were supposed to do. No one told you, right? So look, if you take this and run it under a faucet, you're taking all the salt and all the sugar out of it, and believe it or not, you just wash away all the flavor. That's why, and I shouldn't say this, I got in a lot of trouble once. That's why we stay away from frozen fish. We stay away from frozen fish because once it defrosts, what happens? It's like a washing machine. The water comes flying out of it, and all that natural sugar and salt comes out of it. Okay, so here I have a little egg whites. The first thing we want to do this is.
Why do you use egg whites instead of?
Because about 8 years ago, it's a great question. 8 years ago, our test kitchens in Birmingham, Alabama, decided that if you could save 1 calorie by not using eggs, right? But, so look at this. This is called the standing breading procedure. In order for the egg whites to stick to the fish, we have to put a little bit of flour on there. Okay? And then I'm a big fan, give it a good shake. How many people use Wondra flour? Oh, good. Everybody buy a container of Wondra flour. Especially when you're down here, if you need a little flour, it comes right out of a little spigot. It's a blue canister cylinder, 1 drop, and you'll see it, they're making a gravy with it. You'll love it. You don't have to open up a bag of flour and get it all over your countertop, all over your floor, and all over you. All right? So look, here's our grouper. We're going to put it in our egg or egg white. It really doesn't matter. It's only a little tiny bit, right? It doesn't smell. And then I'm going to go right into this right here, which is coconut, cashew, panko. Could be parsley, cilantro, could be, something spicy. And here I go, watch. Since it's panko, I want to give it, look at my knuckles, folks, right? I want to give it a good, now you guys are going to eat this in a little while. I have a piece in the back, it's pretty tasty. Okay? So here we go. And what we're going to do is we'll just saute this. Now, here's what I came up with a long time ago. I used to work in a restaurant in New York City called Tropica. Right at the escalators in Grand Central. Has anybody ever been to Tropica? You been to Tropica? Tropica. So we had a macadamia with a cashew crusted red snapper on the menu. And believe it or not, we used to burn it all the time because of the nuts. So what I tell everybody is this: a little tiny bit of oil on low to medium heat, and we just want to brown this a little bit. And what we want to do is we want to kind of finish this. Anytime you bread anything with nuts, I'd like for you to finish it in the oven. Because you can't cook the whole thing in a pan because it'll wind up burning unless you're a super duper incredible cook, which no one here, including myself, is not going to burn it. Right? You got to sit there and move it around, and you have to keep adding fat to it, and we don't want to do that. So as you can see right here, there's a little papaya. A little toasted coconut maybe. Once this is done, you can add really cilantro to this. This you can put in your refrigerator. This has sweet, it's tart. You guys are going to have it later. The one you're going to have, the recipe calls that the papaya and the coconut is pureed. So it's going to be more like a ketchup kind of thing. I made this for you because I really don't think you guys are going to be pureeing much. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather you do this and use it and call it a day. All right? Let me just flip this over, and then we'll do another one, and then we'll watch a little video, and then we'll go eat. How's that? Is that good? Who wants one of those cucumber cocktails? You know what I'm saying? Anything with cucumber, right? Anything with cucumber. So watch this. See, there's no oil in the pan. I'm getting a little bit of brown on there. Yes, scream it out.
You are cooking like my grandmother and my mother. Oh, you do this, you use that, okay, is that all in there?
Everything is in there.
Okay, so you can switch to this, or you can switch to that?
When it comes to any fruits,
Or do I need to write off?
No. What you have to do is just, hold on, let me flip this. No, like I say, when you cook in front of people, I specify it's an opinion. When we have fun, let's be creative.
Yeah.
Keep everything in balance, proper balance. So if anytime you see a recipe that calls for pears, well, could apples work? Of course. In a situation like this, yeah, there's jalapenos in here, there's peppers in here. If you can't find papaya, can pineapple work in here? Yeah. So it's just, look, see the way this thing burns? See the smoke? So as you can see, then we take this and put this right into the oven. And that's what they did here in the back too. All right? Okay. Let me move this so I don't spill it. Anybody have any questions? Go ahead. We'll take 2 seconds for questions and we'll finish this up. I like grapeseed oil. Yeah, so grapeseed oil is an oil that is only sold in small bottles, unless you're buying industrial, and I don't think anybody here can get that. It's a neutral oil, great for vinaigrettes. It has no taste. Grapeseed oil has 0 taste. Try it. Dip your hand in it, it's 0. It's not like olive oil, gets you in the back of the throat, bitter, sweet, whatever it may be. It's a good oil. Don't saute, you can saute with it, but it's good for vinaigrettes. Usually, like most good chefs use it for vinaigrettes. But if you're cooking with it and it's not causing any problems, use it. Go ahead.
Back on the eggplant. So
Yes.
you put that on a paper towel, put another roll on top, use a rolling pin and squeeze it out?
No.
Why not?
We want the, if you're putting the salt on it?
Not putting salt, I'm just...
No, because you're not gonna, if you squeeze, not the squeeze. Okay? So the salt would get in there, and what would happen would be, if you had a little cut on your finger, and you dip it in salt, it's going to sting, right? Well, it's going to sting the eggplant, and then it's going to loosen up the fibers, and then the water is going to start dripping out. Then if you press it, then we've opened up all those fibers in there, and then we can press out all that supposedly bitter water. But I haven't had a bitter eggplant in years. Chef, you have a bitter eggplant later, by the way? You guys know Chef? This guy is so talented. Give this guy a nice look. This guy, listen. I walked into a place this morning, and I had a couple of emails. I knew Tom wouldn't be, I knew Mr. Wallace wouldn't associate with anybody but the best. I just know how Tom works. But this guy here runs a beautiful kitchen for you guys. You should be very, very happy to eat this man's food. So, but, Chef, have you had a bitter eggplant lately?
I try and search out the sweetest eggplant. But I've had a lot of great eggplants lately, so I can't really complain.
Right, no, we're talking about, you remember the old days we used to salt them and press them and all that?
Absolutely, yeah. To kind of break up the tissues a little bit and make them a little softer on here.
Yeah. But it is what it is. Anybody else have anybody have any questions for Chef? Had a great meal, bad meal, want something? No? What? Well, listen, you want to know something? It's the truth. You feed people every single day. Eating is an opinion, right? Come on.
Instead of using breadcrumbs or whatever flour, could we use something else a little bit more healthy?
Yeah, yes. You know what I use a lot?
Yes.
You can go to a health food store and buy almond flour, which is a solid protein. I buy cornflakes and I make cornflake crumbs. Very, very delicious. Chef, what do you use?
I like chickpea flour.
Chickpea flour, which is chickpea flour is real good. What do they use chickpea flour for that we all kind of like stuffed in a pita bread? Falafel or hummus, but that's chickpeas. So falafel is chickpea flour, and they use onion, and they add some water to it, and some parsley, sesame seeds. And they fry them up, or they bake them up, and then, hey, by the way, I want everybody to do this one. Chef, I don't know if you ever did this one. You go to the store and you buy your falafel mix. I think it's Far India, Far East. What's the brand? Far East. Buy the Far East falafel mix. And then what I want you to do is make that, I want you to bread one side, a little flour, a little egg on one side of salmon, and then dip it into the chickpea flour, the falafel flour that you didn't add water to, and I want you to saute it and finish it in the oven. When it comes out of the oven, one little dollop of good yogurt sitting on a bed of cucumber, and it's falafel crusted salmon. Pretty simple. So we'll go over it again. There's no recipe for it. You're going to buy, and listen, you're not going to take the whole pack and dump it into a bowl. You're going to take a little bit. You might be only cooking for 2 people. So you're going to have two, enough for 2 halves. I found out that if you bread the whole salmon, it's too crunchy, too falafel. So I like the one side, and then the other side is normal. So you would flour like I did right here, standard breading procedure. We need something to stick. We need the falafel flour to stick to something, and that's the egg, and the egg is sticking to the flour. Okay? And it's one side, and I really, really like that. That's a good one. Anybody else? We're going to make one more dish. Naked, yeah. So good. Falafel crusted salmon. It doesn't work so good on chicken. Just so you know. The other really, really simple one then is this one. Take tortilla chips and crumble them up. Baked tortillas, everybody with me? And then I take like a whole pork tenderloin and I brush it with a little light ranch dressing and I put it in the refrigerator for an hour. I take a fork and kind of do this to it. Oh, it's up here. I usually, if this is the pork tenderloin, I don't know. But if I'm marinating something, we call this docking, right? This is docking in the cooking business. If I'm marinating something, if you're going to marinate for more than an hour, it doesn't work. It's an hour. Unless you're making sauerkraut, it's going to take 2 weeks, right? So look, if I'm marinating something, I don't care, big or small, I kind of put some holes in it with a fork. Let the marinade get to the center of this thing. How's the marinade going to get to the center for an hour when it's sitting here? Why do I don't like to marinate for over an hour? Because of the salt content, right? It's because, again, if you have a cut on your finger and stick it in salt, it's going to stay, right? So what happens, one of the oldest curing methods is salt, right? So we want to keep all the natural oils and natural juice inside the product, so we don't like to over salt. So 1 hour is good. Poke your little holes in there, and away you go. So, you ready? Pork tenderloin. Look, there's no fat in there. That's why it's so healthy for us. Pork tenderloin, brush a little ranch dressing, or any dressing for that matter. And then I roll it in tortilla crumbs. So I crumble up a bunch of tortilla chips, and I roll it, and I put it on a sheet pan, and I bake it. And that's the simplest of all simple, folks. That's like, oh my God, I can't believe I have to cook. You know what I'm saying? And once you do that, it's pretty tasty. Let it rest when you take it out. Let it rest a good 10 minutes, and then give it a good, slice, and you can serve it with like a corn salad, a tomato corn salad, something Mexican. A couple slices of avocado, maybe a drizzle of that olive oil. You know what I mean? Something like that. Okay. Well, let's take one more thing, and then we'll watch a couple of video, and then we'll eat. How's that? Everybody with me? Yep. Okay. So the reason that you're going to see 4 videos from Japan was because, and I encourage everybody to do this. It's not easy, but you can pull it off. I went into a recipe contest, and it was the best thing I ever did, but the worst thing I ever did. The Japanese people drove me criminally insane with emails. And I came up with a Japanese recipe that was miso marinated beef tenderloin, and I won the stupid thing. And I went to Japan for 2 weeks. And I worked like a dog. I thought it was vacation. I came home like this, They wouldn't even give me a break. I asked for 1 hour. Could I have 1 hour sit in the hotel lobby in the chair? No. 1. I need 1 hour. To stay 7 o'clock in the morning till 1 in the morning. 7 to 1. 14 days. Then when I got on that plane, I couldn't even, when I was coming home, I couldn't even sleep. I was so wired, but you'll see why in a couple minutes. Okay, so let me put my gloves on because we're gonna put some miso in here. So miso is like $2. Listen to this comment. Where, and I learned this in Japan, I didn't think about this. Where does Japan buy all of its soybeans? They produce an unbelievable amount of soy sauce. They produce an unbelievable amount of miso. Where do they buy their soybeans? North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota. I was like, the guy's like, oh, Minnesota. I'm like, Minnesota. But the bottom line is, think about that. All of our soybeans is a commodity, and most of our soybeans get sold to the Asian countries. And that's our American farmer. Anybody see the Super Bowl commercial? It's God wanted a farmer. And I sat there and thought that was the best commercial there. You know why? You imagine if the farmers are like, I'm out. You can grow your own lettuce. You can grow your own tomatoes. We're done. The American farmer, folks, is unbelievable. We're going to talk about that in a second, too. It's the ratio of how much food we produce in this country to how much food Japan produces on its own is astronomical. We'll talk about that in a second. All right, so this is filet mignon. It's beef filet. It could be anything. I love miso marinated salmon. I love miso marinated cod. Anybody ever been to the restaurant Nobu? Any Nobu fans? They're all over the country now. Nobu made the black cod with miso famous. But this is what it is. So let's go over it. I'm going to take this and leave it right here. So miso, folks, comes in like 3 different colors: red, brown, and white. They call it yellow, they call it dark, and they call it red. It all tastes the same. Some people on our palates, it all tastes the same. You know, because it's just like your eggplant with the salt. My grandmother made the white miso. My grandmother made the red miso. But guess what? On our palates, miso is miso. Salty, it's kind of delicious. A little miso, sauteed corn. The little miso sauteed corn is very, very good. Look at this one. We'll dump this off here. I'm just doing a couple of things with miso. Look at this. Raw eggplant. Take a little tiny bit of miso. Put it on here. This is raw, folks. Right? We're shooting from the lip. I'm just teaching you what I know. Right? Put that like that. Let it sit in your refrigerator for an hour and then grill it. It'd be delicious. There's no soy in there. There's nothing. That's just straight miso, straight soybean paste. All right? So here we go. We have our miso, and I have my gloves on. So we'll take the miso. Anytime that I use a measuring cup like this, I always spray it with cooking spray. Molasses, honey, anything thick like that. Spray the cup, then put this in here, and this would pop right out. Okay? It's just a little thing, right? Some little things in life that count. You know? So here's the miso. Here's a little bit of honey. Some chefs use brown sugar for this, like Nobu. If you look at Nobu, if you go and do Nobu's black cod with miso, it's brown sugar, but here's a little honey. Here's a little bit of mustard. Here's a little bit of soy. It's pretty simple. And there's a little bit of sherry. Guess what? Sherry. If you don't have sherry, don't panic. Don't use anything. Why? It's only a little shot. Okay. I'm going to mix this up like so. Everybody watching me? So we have miso, right? So any miso will do. And guess what? Miso, bacteria doesn't even want to live in miso. Trust me. High salt. We call that low pH in the proper food handling world. By the way, I'll be right there. Every chef has their Serve Safe certificate. Every cook in this place, downstairs where they come into work, has their Serve Safe certificates on the wall. Folks, no one does that. No, first things first, I think it's like $600 to take the class. So this club has paid for every cook to take the Serve Safe test. And it's not easy. If you don't study, you don't pass. If you want to see them, they're all downstairs where they all have their employee dining room downstairs. Go to the wall. Everybody Serve Safe. So guess what? Get some healthy food here. You're not gonna run into problems because they scare the crap out of you. and serve safe people. Okay, so here we go. We have our miso. It's pretty simple. And I like this. I don't like this. See this? See that, folks? Not a fan. Not a fan. Too much. If it's sitting in a pool, it's too much. We just like a little bit like this, right? And remember what I told you? Dock it a little bit, right? Flip it over. Dock it. Get that miso in the center. Because no recipe, no cookbook will tell you 1 hour the most on marinating. But I'm a guy that says 1 hour the most on marinating. Okay? So here we go. And then what we'll do is we'll put it in this little bowl here. We'll pretend this is a bowl. If you say to yourself, I think it needs a little bit more, no problem. There's a little bit more. Okay? And you're going to put this in your refrigerator for 1 hour. Max, high salt, right? And then you can grill it or you can pan roast it. But you do have to sear it before you cook this. I mean, you have to sear it before you either put it in the oven. So if you're going to put it on the grill, brush a little bit of that miso off, okay? Why? Because there's honey in it. I don't want it to burn. Yes, you have a, go ahead, sorry.
Miso, where do you get it?
You know, I'm pretty sure Publix will have it. You know the, where they roll the sushi at Publix? Ask those guys, you have a little miso? You know? And another thing too is, if you go out to a Japanese restaurant, bring a little cup and ask them for a little miso. Hey, you got a little miso? And I'll give you $1 for a little miso. It'll last you forever. It'll last you forever. But, oh, and this is supposed to get a little green onion in there too, I forgot it, sorry. But that's his life, right? Or you've got a couple of things I think we don't cook enough with. I don't think that we put enough, enough mint in our salads. Mint is so good. Snip a little mint into your salad. You want to know something? Grow it. You'll kill me because it's going to take over your garden and you just rip it out before you leave. Before you go back up north, after the season, rip out your mint. When you come back next year, it'll be mint. But I love the spearmint, and you just rip it into your salads. You know that pickled ginger that comes, you know what makes that red? Pomegranate. Pomegranate. You know what grenadine is? Pomegranate. Right? Antioxidant, right? Big play now. Put it in the salad. I'm not a big fan. Who likes chewing on a seed? Does anyone here put pomegranate seeds in their salads?
No, I do.
Do you enjoy it? No, do you enjoy it?
Oh, I love it.
There you go. See, cooking's a thing. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead. Yell out your question. Yeah, you have a question? I'm sorry. Yeah.
I want to know where you found that.
Oh, that was it. Yeah, it's usually in a round or square container, really flimsy container, and you'll see it, and it's $3, the most.
Oh, I like that.
Okay, and then once you open it, there'll be a little piece of parchment paper over the top. Save that parchment paper, take out your scoop, put the parchment paper back, put the lid on it, forget about it. It'll still be there in 3 months. Anybody else have any? Are you almost ready? People are starving. Anybody have any crazy questions? Okay, hey, Rob, hold on. I want to tell everybody what this is. So the first video is an auctioneer at the Tokyo Fish Exchange at 4:45 in the morning, and he's auctioning off tuna. Thousands and thousands of tuna. So I asked some Japanese guy, where do they catch the tuna? Boston. So think about this. You're going to see some tuna. They're American tuna in Tokyo at the Fish Exchange. The second video is a chef from a culinary school in Kyoto, Japan. Fabulous place. If you ever go there, go to Kyoto. It's so much. It's amazing. Wait till you see what he can do with a knife. The next guy, they have these long samurai swords, and they have to fillet these big 260-pound or 400-pound tuna. And you need to be licensed to even operate this knife. Because if you had a bad night at the bar and you go into work one day, you're going to do some damage. These things will cut your head off with one swipe. You'll see this unbelievable guy. Wait till you see his arms. when he's filleting this tuna. You'll see what I mean. And then the third, what's the third one? The third one is why, this is what my whole speech in San Diego, is not the whole speech, but toward the end, the Japanese culture, for the worst, is eating really, really bad food. Forget about the sashimi. Oh, by the way, I didn't see one sushi roll in Japan. Not zero. Everything was sashimi. Everything was raw fish. No, I didn't see one roll. Unbelievable, right? What you're going to see at the end is these guys making these octopus balls on the streets. This is was a street vendor, like a hot dog vendor in New York City. And then after we're done, you guys can look at this. If you have any questions, let me know. But I had a good time. This is a heck of a place. And I'd like to thank everybody for coming.